a 340 meter, 91 story Trump Tower proposed right here in Australia at Surfers Paradise. If completed, it will become Australia's tallest building, outclassing nearly anything that compares to it. But here's the catch, it's going to exceed a lot of the local and even state level planning limits, and like many ambitious Gold Coast projects, they're not always guaranteed to be completed. Historically, this site has already been approved for a high-rise development valuing at $1.2 billion. However, this collapsed in the last global financial crisis. And we start to see a pattern forming in the Gold Coast here of a repeated cycle of countless proposals and mega projects and these grandiose designs that they keep on designing, and then a lot of them stall on delivery, or they don't make it through construction, or only have partial construction. So this isn't a fresh, brand new site with a whole new ambition. It really is a recycled site and a recycled proposal, just under now different branding under the Trump organization. So the official name for this project is the Trump International Hotel and Tower Gold Coast. The developers for this project are Atlas Property Group and the Trump Organization. Now, Atlas is very popular over in the Gold Coast and has many completed projects. I'm going to be focusing specifically on the building and architecture side of this. I'm going to try and separate it a little bit from the political aspects of this, because everyone's going to have a lot to say, obviously. But as I work with a lot of property developers, just is the nature of being an architectural designer. Honestly, I don't even really have an opinion on it. I just, it's a tower. Even at the time of uploading this video, the whole Iran situation is very volatile, and by the time I upload this, who knows what is going to take place. So this is focusing just on this Trump Tower proposal. Some key aspects of this project is it will sit at a whopping 340 meters high at 91 stories, and valuing at an estimated around $1.5 billion for the project value. The tower itself is looking to be some sort of luxury, think of like a Dubai-style luxury resort, featuring a 6-star hotel, 270 luxury residencies, a beachside retail podium, and a beach club with event spaces. This is very popular over in the Gold Coast to have your tower right on the beach. So you have the podium and retail aspect that opens up directly out onto the beach. If completed, it would completely surpass the current tallest tower in Australia, which is the Q1 tower, sitting at 322 meters high. I think there's a lot of petitions against this tower, claiming that it's going to exceed the local height limit and the density expectations. Obviously, a lot of residents that live around this area are not going to be happy by a giant 340 meter Trump Tower getting propped up right where you live. I mean, that's understandable for residents that are in the area. Now, we'll get into a few details of it. The Gold Coast planning scheme is performance-based, so there's no hard height limit. Projects at this scale, it's not necessarily is it falling within these specified height limits and whatnot. It's more, can you justify to the authorities that this project will be overall beneficial for the city, and it's more of a performance-based restriction rather than set height limits and set parameters. But it does require all of your typical justification, wind, shadows, traffic. So say, is this tower going to cast a giant shadow over your neighboring residencies, and will they not get sunlight for the entire day? Considerations have to be made within the proposal. And as this project has not gone through DA yet, because I can't find any DA documents on this, it's hard to tell how much they've developed it and how much consideration has been made for surrounding communities and neighboring properties. If I had access to the DA, I'd be pulling up all the drawings and everything, but at the moment it's just this kind of headline, supposedly it's going to get built. It's still very speculative at the moment. The slenderness ratio will be pretty crazy, being over 90 stories and quite a reasonably narrow site. Supposedly part of the basement is already partially constructed due to the last project that was on the site, so it does leave this kind of perfect opportunity to build something else in that area. And the typology of this building will be more comparable to Dubai residencies. Think of massive resorts you have in Dubai. And that kind of design language, it will be more closer to that than compared to your typical Australian resi towers, which have more standardized floor plates. You got your retail podium, or either tower and plaza, just residencies, and maybe some communal levels in the rooftop area. It might be more like these Dubai towers, which are a little bit different in terms of typology. The developer claims that construction will begin soon, but I find this a little bit hard to believe considering that there's no DA even submitted yet, but maybe they'll get a free pass, or like it'll get fast-tracked somehow. And they're aiming for completion to be before the Brisbane 2032 Olympics. For a typical 90-story tower in Australia, it takes around 4 to 6 years. That's on a very optimistic timeline, so we'll see. Also, a lot of other factors to consider. Will people even buy residencies here? Will it even get pre-sales and so on? Which, it's ambitious, but is it guaranteed at the moment? Not really. However, I do believe that this chosen location in the Gold Coast is probably the perfect place to put it, because where else would you put a super tall skyscraper right on the beachfront? That is pretty much what the Gold Coast is known for now. This sweeping skyline of tall skyscrapers right next to the ocean. So I would say if you were to put the Trump Tower anywhere else in Australia, it wouldn't be as well received as, say, somewhere like the Gold Coast, because it just seems like the obvious location to put it. Maybe Sydney because it's a commercial business district, but anywhere else, yeah, it just makes sense to put it in the Gold Coast considering it's mainly for luxury residencies. And it seems that the Gold Coast is wanting to move their position towards this more global luxury branding, break away from the language of other Australian cities like Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne. I think the mayor over the Gold Coast there really wants it to be this luxury, flashy kind of part of Australia, I guess. And also, this project is not isolated in itself. There's many other very tall, call it vertical intensification going on within the area. Now, we're gonna move on to the more controversial part of it. You could definitely say the feedback for this tower has been 50-50 received. People either love it or they're gonna hate it. And especially because Donald Trump himself is involved, somewhat involved in this project. I doubt he actually cares that much. It's probably more just the Trump organization that's focusing on this primarily. The public responses have been, the positive ones are people saying it's going to create more jobs, it's going to create more tourism. You got the 6-star luxury resort right here in Australia. People are saying that's going to be a really good thing. Depending on your political views, it's going to be a good thing, I guess. If you support Trump, then the kind of identity of the Gold Coast is it's gonna transform the identity of the Gold Coast further towards the kind of image of the Trump organization, if that makes sense. I'm trying to stay very neutral when discussing this. So actually, honestly, I don't really have any views. It is what it is. On the opposite spectrum of people who are against this, there have been thousands and thousands of petitions trying to push back against it and oppose it pretty much. A lot of people are arguing this is a cultural project as much as it is a real estate one. There are a few doubts within this. Let's say the developer Atlas has a questionable track record, so you could say. And there also, especially the Gold Coast itself, there's been a history of just so many unbuilt mega projects and crazy proposals that never got realized. Even globally, the Trump organization brand, some of the towers were never built. They too proposed many towers and they also never got built. So it's hard to tell, really, is this a serious project or is it just a kind of announcement and then will it die off? Who knows? Who knows? However, looking at the big picture of this, so if it does get built, if it does go ahead, it's going to be the tallest tower in Australia. And it will definitely be a huge shift in the global branding for the Gold Coast. I want to hear what you think. Do you support this tower? Do you agree that it's going to bring lots of jobs, lots of tourism? Is that what the Gold Coast wants? Is that what you want? Or are you heavily against this and you don't think this is a good move at all? Let me hear your thoughts in the comments. Or is this going to be just another entry in Gold Coast's long list of never realized projects that were promised to be amazing, promised these super tall mega projects that just never got built? So the real question is not how tall will this tower be, it's will this tower even get built at all?